Bộ phim Một Thần Ký.
Hello everyone, welcome back. Today, we're diving into episode 92. Previously, Emperor Yangfeng declared that the reform had greatly improved the lives of ordinary people and vowed to overthrow the forces that had long stood above the people. Unable to persuade him to abandon his ideals, the Tathagata and the Tao Master gathered the strongest experts from their factions and launched an assassination attempt, igniting a battle that would determine the future of Yankong. Episode 92. Outside Bozhou City, the greatest experts of the Tao sect, Great Thunderclap Monastery, the Yankong Imperial Court, and the Heavenly Saint cult assembled for a decisive confrontation. As their cultivation erupted, vast amounts of primordial energy transformed into magnificent divine manifestations behind them. The Taoist elders and Buddhist monks summoned ancient deities worshipped by their sects, while the officials of Yankong displayed something entirely different. Instead of venerating gods or Buddhas, they treated their own duties as their Tao. Warfare, irrigation, finance, education, and state rituals each became the God they followed. This perfectly reflected the reform philosophy that the imperial preceptor had spent years spreading throughout the empire. One senior monk from the Great Thunderclap Monastery condemned the imperial court, accusing them of abandoning respect for gods and Buddhas and embracing heresy. General Quan Dingwu immediately mocked him, arguing that cultivation only had meaning if it benefited the people. Emperor Yangfeng added that a person who faithfully fulfilled their responsibilities was the true God, not someone who merely possessed the title of Buddha or deity. Hearing this, the Tao Master accused the emperor of being deeply influenced by both the imperial preceptor and the Heavenly Saint cult, claiming he had strayed from the orthodox path. Emperor Yangfeng simply smiled and replied that if he ever joined the Heavenly Saint cult, he might even be qualified to become its leader. Just as the Tao sect prepared to attack, 3 ox carts unexpectedly crossed the battlefield one after another. Unwilling to harm innocent civilians, everyone repeatedly withdrew their killing intent. By the time the 3rd cart arrived, the experts finally realized something was wrong. The elderly couple riding it suddenly pulled away the covering cloth, revealing left protector Kong Lingxian, right protector Shui Bi, the 12 guardian elders, and the 2 heavenly kings of the Heavenly Saint cult. Disguised all along, they had secretly followed Emperor Yangfeng under Qin Mu's orders to protect him. The protectors declared that if the emperor died, they would have no way to answer to their cult master. So even if they had to fight the Tathagata and the Tao Master themselves, they would defend him to the end. With nothing left to delay them, the battle among the 4 greatest powers of the world finally erupted. Sword light from the Tao sect, Buddhist radiance from the Great Thunderclap Monastery, the Imperial Court's divine techniques, and the Heavenly Saint cult's grand formations collided violently, producing devastating shockwaves that flattened mountains and forests for dozens of miles. This battle surpassed even the previous rebellion suppression, as nearly every sect master-level expert from both the Tao sect and Great Thunderclap Monastery had joined the fight. Amid the chaos, Cavalry General Quan Dingwu confronted the head of the Arhat Hall. One wielded the Buddhist battle victory art, while the other relied on the battlefield's slaughter war technique. Quan Dingwu refused to dodge a single attack, choosing instead the brutal style of exchanging injuries for victory that he had mastered through countless wars. Although 2 powerful Buddhist seals severely damaged his internal organs, he retaliated with saber, spear, halberd, sword, and lance in rapid succession, shattering his opponent's defenses, severing an arm, piercing his chest, lifting him into the air with a halberd, and finally crushing him completely beneath a massive shield. However, the moment he secured victory, several more Buddhist masters joined forces, using divine techniques and a sacred pagoda to suppress him, leaving him gravely wounded. Elsewhere, Marshal Yuan Kong was intercepted by Master Hongyan. She urged him to return to Buddhism, but Yuan Kong firmly rejected her offer. He declared that his own path was to uphold justice through law and battle. Only by breaking the shackles binding his own heart would he achieve true enlightenment. So he would never abandon Yankong. Meanwhile, the Heavenly Saint cult formed a massive battle formation to confront the Tao sects. Sword array head-on, having fought each other for generations. Both sides knew every technique and countermeasure, making their clash even more ferocious. Across the battlefield, the Heavenly Strategy General, Mount Tai King, the Ministers of Revenue and Public Works, along with many imperial officials, were all intercepted by Great Thunderclap experts, leaving Emperor Yangfeng isolated. With every other expert occupied, the center of the battlefield was reduced to a final showdown between Emperor Yangfeng and the 2 Strongest figures alive, the Tathagata and the Tao Master. The Tathagata ordered everyone else to withdraw, declaring that he and the Tao Master alone would deal with the Emperor. Emperor Yangfeng immediately activated the 9 Dragons Emperor technique. Boundless dragon chi shot into the heavens as 9 divine dragons emerged among the clouds. Calmly drawing his sword, the Tao Master unleashed the unfinished final move of the 14th Tao sword, forcing the dragons back while admitting it was the strongest sword technique he could still perform. At the same time, the Tathagata raised his golden bowl and activated the golden light Mahayana scripture, opening 20 heavenly realms filled with countless Buddhas to oppose the Emperor's 9 Dragons Emperor technique. Thus, the 2 legendary masters attacked together, beginning a life and death battle that would determine not only Emperor Yangfeng's fate, but also the future of Yan Kang's reforms. The 3 greatest powerhouses of the era had finally entered their ultimate showdown. The Tathagata and the Tao Master were peerless geniuses of the previous generation who had already reached the threshold of godhood. Had the divine bridge not been broken, both would have ascended to the higher realms long ago. Emperor Yangfeng represented the new generation. Empowered by Yan Kang's 9 dragon veins and blessed by the nation's destiny, he stood at the peak of the current era. Yet in terms of pure cultivation, he was still slightly inferior to the 2 veterans. Facing both of them at once placed him in an extremely dangerous situation. As Emperor Yangfeng fully unleashed the 9 Dragons Emperor technique, dragon chi exploded into the sky. 9 divine dragons roared across the heavens while lightning continuously struck around his body. The dragons charged toward their enemies. But the Tathagata immediately used his golden bowl to activate the golden light Mahayana scripture, summoning 20 heavenly realms filled with countless Buddhas to halt their assault. At the same time, the Tao Master seized the opportunity to unleash the unfinished final move of the 14th Tao sword. One sword strike transformed into heaven and earth, evolved into countless natural laws, and carried the rhythm of the great Tao straight toward the Emperor. Just as the sword and Buddhist divine arts were about to collide, 2 mysterious figures suddenly appeared in the sky, forcing all 3 combatants to stop. They were none other than Ma Yi and Grandpa Blind, 2 of Qin Emu's most mysterious elders. Surprisingly, they paid no attention to the earth-shattering battle. Instead, they simply asked whether anyone had seen Granny Si. Grandpa Blind explained at great length that Li Tianqing was attempting to seize Granny Si's body. If he succeeded, the resulting disaster would be far more terrifying than the death of any emperor. After questioning everyone without finding any trace of Granny Si, the 2 elders immediately prepared to leave. Even when Shui Bi of the Heavenly Saint Cult begged for help, they refused without hesitation. In their eyes, an emperor could always be replaced. But if Li Tianqing escaped with Granny Si's body, the entire world would face an unimaginable catastrophe. As soon as they departed, the battle resumed with even greater intensity. The Tathagata and the Tao Master stopped holding back. Emperor Yangfeng unleashed one supreme technique after another, effortlessly using Tao sect sword arts, Buddhist battle victory techniques, and countless legendary martial arts from every major sect. Every technique in his hands reached an astonishing level of perfection. Even the Lihan Heavenly Sword Art, a sword style traditionally reserved for women, displayed overwhelming destructive power when performed by him. The Tao Master became increasingly astonished. He admitted that while the world praised the imperial preceptor as the greatest genius of the age, Emperor Yangfeng himself was equally worthy of founding a new sacred land. Nevertheless, the incomplete final move of the 14th Tao sword remained terrifying beyond measure. Sword light repeatedly shattered the Emperor's defenses, leaving wounds across his entire body. Seeing an opening, the Tathagata summoned the 20 heavenly realms within his golden bowl and pressed them down upon the Emperor. Layer after layer of overwhelming pressure slowed Emperor Yangfeng's movements, though he continued resisting with divine arts powerful enough to reshape mountains and rivers. He was gradually forced into a hopeless position. Realizing that the imperial preceptor had yet to appear, the Tathagata urged the Tao Master to end the battle quickly before any unexpected variables emerge. Together, they unleashed their final killing techniques, determined to execute Emperor Yangfeng once and for all. Meanwhile, more than 300 miles away, Qin Mu raced toward the battlefield atop the fire Qilin. He constantly urged the beast to move faster, promising additional spirit pills as a reward and even threatening to let Green Ox beat him up if he slowed down. The fire Qilin pushed itself to the limit, but despite its best efforts, it was still far slower than Green Ox and soon became completely exhausted. Along the way, Qin Mu encountered Ma Yi and Grandpa Blind. He immediately informed them that Granny C was already safe before desperately pleading with them to rescue Emperor Yangfeng. At first, both elders believed the emperor had certainly died at the hands of the Tathagata and the Tao Master. But after hearing Qin Mu's repeated pleas, they finally changed their minds and rushed back toward the battlefield. At the exact moment the Tathagata and the Tao Master unleashed their finishing blow, a simple bamboo cane suddenly appeared. Grandpa Blind struck with unbelievable speed, blocking the Tao Master's sword while knocking the Tathagata's golden bowl off course. Even the two legendary masters were forced to retreat in surprise. Grandpa Blind casually praised their cultivation, admitting that even he could not underestimate them. During that brief opening, Ma Yi silently rescued Emperor Yangfeng and carried him away from the battlefield. The Tathagata made no attempt to pursue, calmly stating that the emperor's divine treasures had already been shattered and his vital energy completely exhausted. Even if he survived, he would likely remain crippled for the rest of his life. A short time later, Ma Yi and Grandpa Blind returned to Qin Mu. Ma Yi casually tossed the unconscious Emperor Yangfeng onto the fire Qilin's back and joked, "Here's the corpse you wanted." Qin Mu was horrified and immediately examined the emperor's condition. Although Emperor Yangfeng still had a faint breath of life, everyone understood that he now stood on the very edge of death. Without a miracle, the great emperor of Yankong would never recover his former glory. That concludes episode 92. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next episode. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
trận thiên tai sấm sét ấy. Hoàng lần lượt quản lý các trường lớn nhỏ khắp nơi, phụ trách tài chính thiên hạ đế đã bị sét đánh chết. Sau này ta mới biết tổng quản mọi công trình thủy lợi, phiêu kỵ đại tướng quân quyền định nhất. Thượng thương mà bọn họ nhắc đến không phải võ, cả đời chinh chiến sát phạt, diệt vô số quốc gia và giáo thiên thần, mà là Lôi Ẩn Tông. Phái là một trong những cường giả đỉnh cao nhất của Diên Khang, một tông phái đại phái. Chúng ta nguyện liều chết bảo vệ bệ hạ, ấy là vì mất mùa. Đồ cống nạp cho Lôi Ẩn Tông ít đi. Bảo vệ Diên Khang. Nên bị trừng phạt. Phim thuyết minh bởi website Mọt. Hoàng đế nhận hết tội lỗi về mình.